What's going on, guys? We are back with another special prediction show. RLCS promotion is this weekend, and it is the most important weekend for these four teams they will have in a very long time because, one, two of them didn't make playoffs, so they couldn't have a chance at going to the World Championship, and the other two have been playing in the Rival Series, trying to mop up the Rival Series teams, and they finally made it here, but now it's put up or shut up. You got two best-of-sevens you need to win. If you lose twice, you are back down to the Rival Series, or you join the Rival Series if you were an RLCS team. And if you win your two best-of-sevens, you go to the RLCS, and it's the only entry point nowadays to get into the RLCS, so it's very important to get there. Otherwise, you have to wait another half year or so to get back into the RLCS, and that's only if you do well in the Rival Series. So, with the Rival Series also adding 4 new teams, it could get a little dicey if those 4 new teams, we'll call them relative 4 new super teams possibly, of like all these rosters trying to swap to find the best combination. If 2 of them are really good, you might be out of luck going back to the RLCS. So let's get into my predictions for the promotion series. Now, the way it works, it's best of 7, double elimination. But we won't play the finals, obviously, or the grand finals, because once you win twice in the upper, you're in. It doesn't matter what spot, 1 or 2. Then if you're in the lower, you have to just win the lower, I guess it would be the semifinal? Or, no, the lower final. It's just the grand final is not here. So, let's get into it. We'll start with NA. We'll move over to Europe. I have some notes here that I want to talk about for each of these teams a little bit. So let's get into it. So Allegiance, they're actually coming in as the top seed, but I think a lot of people think they might be the weakest team out of the 4 here. Some might argue Out of Style, but I think Out of Style is getting a lot of favor from the fans, probably because of Justin. He's been going absolutely insane, and Out of Style has been warming up as the season goes on. But Allegiance, honestly, not the greatest season, but the most important thing they did was beat FlyQuest in the last week. Sure, it didn't get them in the playoffs. They did not beat G2 that they also needed to do, but that should be a huge morale boost. Like, hey, we belong here, and we belong in the RLCS, and we should be able to beat the Rival Series teams if we can beat a FlyQuest team that also made it to the RLCS playoffs or the regional championships. So that should give them a lot of confidence going into this. And this first matchup versus Out of Style, my one fear is that this will be a rematch in the lower final, which is something I do not want. I do not want any rematches because I think that's the one gripe with this format is we could get a rematch. I wasn't a huge fan of when we had the Take 3 versus Vendetta rematch back in Season 2 because Vendetta wins the first time, Take 3 wins the second time, and now Take 3 goes. It's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind. But like Allegiance, honestly, they didn't have the best season in the world. I think Seabass actually did pretty well on this team. He's normally that third rotation, doesn't generally get a lot of shots, the lowest on his team at 2.11, but the best part about it is his shooting percentage is at 32%. So he's that cleanup crew that comes in and is pretty accurate on his cleanup shots. He's 5th in the region right now at 32%. So that's a pretty big deal. That'll keep them in games. He also has the most saves on the team as well, almost at 2 per game. He's the one who won the Savior of the Season award as well. So, he's looking pretty good. I would love to see if the other two, like Illusion and Tyler Tyler, can get more chances for him to get some cleanup shots in and keep that percentage up and ride Seabass into these matches. But we'll see going forward. Tyler Tyler's doing a really good job as well. He's got 4th in assists right now, 0.71. When they played Renegades, he got 10 assists in a 5-game series. Absolutely insane. So he's putting up a lot of shots, and they are converting into assists. So that's kind of like the idea of Tyler shoots it, forces a bad rebound, Seabass comes in and closes it out. So Tyler's shooting percentage is not that great at 23%, but I don't mind if your shooting percentage is on the lower end. He's on like the bottom 5 right now. But if you're on the lower end but you have high assists, that really means that you're forcing the goalies to make bad rebounds. Sure, they save them, but then someone else is coming in to clean them up so you get that assist credit. So that's a big, important part there for Allegiance. But honestly, like Allegiance, like I think they are the underdogs coming in here. That I'm not sure if that helps them or hurts them here. But this first matchup should be really close. Let's go over to Out of Style before we get into who's going to win. So Out of Style, obviously I had a really good rival series. They started to warm up towards the end. One thing that's good and bad is they went 3-0 in Game 5s in the rival series. So it's good because they're clutch and they're winning those important games. But if they would have lost any of those, they wouldn't be here. So it was extremely close series versus some of the other rival series teams. So you could compare and say they are comparable to their rival series counterparts because they have to go the distance in so many of their series. But I do like the clutch factor at least. At least they can play under pressure. 3-0 is pretty big. No one else went that well. I think Fibian went 1-0, and everyone else had losses in their Game 5s. But Justin, obviously, he piles on the score. Like, score per game is basically a good indication of, obviously, like, goals and assists and all that. But it's also a good indication of who's getting control of the ball, usually, on their team. And Justin's having a really good season. 1.35 goals per game. Absolutely insane. And assists per game is not too bad either at 8th with 0.65, so it's not too bad. Luchino doing the best on the team. 0.85, number 2 in assists. And honestly, he is one of the worst shooting percentage. He's under 20%, 19.67. But again, as I was saying with Tyler, I don't mind a low shooting percentage if you are getting assists because of it. It's usually a good conversion rate there. So it's not the end of the world. But Out of Style, honestly, really good season. Top 4 in basically every single category, and usually top 3 in most. Shooting percentage, they're in save percentage, I should say, they're 3rd, and shooting percentage, they're 3rd as well in the region. So again, probably just outside of where they should be. Like, I think they snuck into the spot. It was a really big win against Hollywood Hammers when they 3-0'd them. That was extremely important. And again, that's the, like, all right, when we have to win, we win. They did go to Game 5 in their final week, but they did win it. So, Out of Style, that clutch factor, possibly. And, of course, like Luchino, he's played in clutch situations. World champion before. So, he hasn't been in the past 2 RLCSs, though. It's been, like, the last time he was in the RLCS, he didn't even make playoffs. So, he went from world champion to not making playoffs to a brand new team who doesn't qualify to another brand new team because he got dropped off of Muffin Men back then, or back then it was Iris, to another team that also doesn't qualify. They barely even made it into the rival series. They were actually on stream as one of those last chance qualifier games, and they made it in, and they surprised a lot of people. I think a lot of people had them down near the bottom, or down like 5th through 6th, or 5th through probably 7th, because a lot of people weren't convinced that they could do it. And I think sometimes, a few times I see them, they get a little showboaty, maybe a little bit too much. And I don't think it's on purpose. I just think they go for weird stuff. And that weird stuff can throw off teams, but sometimes it's a little bit too weird and it doesn't really work out. But this team is going to be riding Justin for the most part and seeing how far they can go. I think either way, if Out of Style does not make it here, Justin will be on an RLCS team next season. I think someone will pick him up, unless he's like in a contract, but he shouldn't be because he's on Out of Style. So this one's tough to me because Allegiance with that win over FlyQuest is big, and it's really hard to decide where these teams exactly are because obviously Out of Style is playing worst competition in the rival series, and Allegiance is playing the toughest competition in the RLCS. Morale is going to be really high for Out of Style. Morale will probably be generally low for Allegiance, but they did get that win last. Oh, man. This is, I'm going to go Allegiance here in this first series. I think that RLCS experience might pay off. I think it'll be an extremely close set. We'll go 4-2 to Allegiance. I think this might be a wake-up call for Out of Style. Like, oh, this is how they play up here. Or this is what we have not been playing. Who knows who they're scrimming as well. Same with Allegiance. And honestly, we don't know scrim schedules or anything like that. So that kind of hurts. But I'm going to go Allegiance here. I think they can... It's not even an upset. I think it's like a... I don't know. It's a close call. I think both of these teams might be 3rd and 4th. Possibly. It's tough. It's tough to call. Fibian versus Renegades. I know Renegades is having a little turmoil. Like, they sub out in week 4. They sub out Moses for Miho, and they go 0-3. versus Rogue. And then they sub back in Moses in week 5, and they go 0-3 to Cloud9. So it seems like nothing is working for them right now. And, like, I hear morale is really low over there, so that doesn't really help them. I feel like the only bright spot on this team is Timmy. Right now, Timmy has gone from that third man who comes up rarely, but comes up with those clutch goals, to now, like, the main offensive threat. Dapper has seemed, like, completely gone this entire season. He's down 0.11 goals per game, 0.25 assists per game, 0.66 shots per game. He's down 10% in his shooting percentage, all from last season. He's having a terrible season. The last week of the season, honestly, there was times where I'm like, he forgot how to aerial, or at least aerial at the level that we're used to seeing him. We saw 2 complete whiffs on him from just 2 complete misses on simple aerials, and I'm like, what is going on with him? I'm not sure what's happening. I know, and a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people had some gripes with me saying, like, maybe he's doing too much of that dribble challenge. And honestly, I think for that week, when it was going into the most important week of their season where they could be out of playoff contention, him spending so much time in that dribble thing probably wasn't the best idea. It just doesn't lead to 3v3 tactics as much, or 3v3 abilities, because you only have so many times to dribble in a 3v3 game. I wonder what they're doing right now, because I know morale's pretty low over there. Hopefully they're scrimming. Hopefully they're getting that practice in, but who knows? I'm not really sure. They're on an 8-game losing streak. Their last win was against Ghost, where they won 1 game. In a 3-game set, but they've lost a lot of games in a row, and they're honestly really missing Season 3 Miho. Season 3 Miho was an absolute beast. He led the team in goals per game, assists per game, and shooting percentage. His shooting percentage was 5th in an A. Goals per game were 5th in an A in Season 3. It was back when he was playing. Like, Season 4 Miho is not the same as Season 3 Miho, because Miho, you know, has to take some time off. I think he's working with his dad now and all that, so he hasn't been playing as much. So they're really missing that other offensive threat. Dapper really performed well with Miho. It seems like he can't get it going with Timmy. Timmy's been doing a lot of, like, solo plays, or a lot of, like, mind game plays, which I really enjoy watching. But Dapper needs to help Timmy out. Like, absolutely needs to. Moses, been relatively quiet. Like, shots per game, dead last. Score per game, dead last. Goals per game, 23rd. Assists per game, 22 or 22nd. Shooting percentage, 21st. So bottom 5 in almost every single category. And it's partially his fault, but I think it's also partially just the way they're trying to play this game. They're trying to keep Moses back maybe a little bit too deep and let Dapper and Timmy do all the work. But Dapper honestly has not been doing a lot of the work. I wouldn't even mind seeing them switch. Just have Moses go up with Timmy, see if anything works. Put Dapper in the backfield, see if that changes anything up and maybe helps them a bit. I would have liked to see that against Cloud9. But again, it's Cloud9. Cloud9 is one of the best teams in the world, if not the best. So it's a little bit hard to do a lot there. But I'm going to go Fibian here. We'll talk about Fibian as well. Like, Fibian has dominated the rival series. They're like near the top of every single category. They're top 2 and basically leading in almost every single category for team perspective. Goals per game, assists per game. Shots per game, their number 2 is the only one. Then their defense is the best by far. Their goals against, number 1. Assists against, number 1. Shots against, number 1. Their shooting percentage is number 1 at 72.6%. And their save percentage is number 1 at 35.6%. So they're having a good old time over there. And they want revenge versus Allegiance. And so maybe I'm saying Allegiance is going to win, because I really want to see Fibian versus Allegiance. I'm going to go Fibian here. I think Fibian's got this. They also played in the rival series, but it was with Fireburner for Renegades instead of Timmy, I think? I can't remember. Like, once I saw that it was a sub, I was like, these results really don't matter. But Fibian did win that pretty handily, so that's a good sign for them. And I think the hardest thing for Fibian was, during the offseason, we heard a lot about Chicago. We didn't hear a lot about Hato or Zol. And it showed in the play-in. It was only Chicago doing anything. Hato and Zol, no offensive threat whatsoever, and that really hurt them when they played Allegiance. Like, they scored 3 goals in the entire series. It was a 3-game series, and Chicago scored all 3 goals. And you can't be having that. Hato only had 2 shots. 2 shots. So you can't be having that going into this versus Allegiance. And I don't think they are that same team. We see Chicago leading the league in goals, 1.41. Hado 1.05 and is in third, and Zol is up there as well, 0.86. So they had some fun against the rival series team, but now they got that competition, like the really tough competition in this a promotion tournament, basically, for the championship series. So we'll go to the upper final first, and then we'll come back down. Fibian versus Allegiance. We've talked a lot about these teams, so I'm not going to talk too much more. I think Fibian will take this. I think their offensive threat has kind of molded well with both Chicago and Hado getting a lot of goals. Or Hato. I call him Hado, but let me know. I don't know. It could be Hato. I don't know. I think it's Hado. But Chicago, 43% shooting right now is absolutely insane. I don't think they'll have that much fun against Allegiance. I don't think it'll be that dominant, but I do think they'll win. But Allegiance is a good team, and they got to watch out for that. So I'm going to go Fibian here. And I think probably the most important game out of all these was the first Allegiance versus Out of Style. Now, we don't want rematches, obviously, but it does give you a benefit. Like, say they were the 2 and 3 seeds, or the 2 and 3 most likely to come out. If whoever wins that at least gets a shot against the number 1 team, and if they do beat them, then they're in. And the other team has to play the 4th place team, and they could lose that game and be out. The problem is, if that doesn't happen, then the team that in the lower actually has an advantage, because the team coming down is probably low in morale, while the team coming up is probably high in morale. The one thing I don't know how the scheduling works for the RLCS is I want, like, obviously these 2 games to go first, and then I would like the lower to go next, then the upper. So I assume it's going to be this way because we want the 2 like qualifying spots last, but I want the lower next. Oh, there's 5 games. Okay, for some reason I thought there was 4 games, but there's 5 best of 7s. All right, so I want these 2, then this one, then this one, then the lower final. So this way, at least the team that won plays back-to-back games, and that does give them a little bit of leeway where, like, usually when you play back-to-back games, you're more warmed up, and you actually do a little bit better. It's like 56% win percentage when you play back-to-back from previous league play stats. So hopefully that's how it's done. I assume that's how it's done. But if it's not, maybe I'll mention it to them and see if they want to change it. But you would think it would be that way. But anyway, let's go over to Out of Style versus Renegades. This one's tough. Renegades, it really depends how demoralized they get versus Fibian. Also, the only problem with what I just said is that would mean the 2-3 here, Renegades Fibian, would play twice in a row as well. So they might get a slight advantage there. But someone's going to have to play back-to-back at some point. So the 2-3 looks like they get a pretty decent advantage either way. But if you are going to go back-to-back games, you would want the 2-3 to get this back-to-back game, because you would think, it might not happen, that the 4 seed would lose, so they should get the disadvantage versus a 3 or 2 seed. But anyway, it really this match really depends if Renegades, how they look in that first matchup. I think Fibian will probably win, but I think it's very important for Renegades to play well in that series, because if they don't, I think they could just tilt out of this tournament. And honestly, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go for the tilt. I am going to go Out of Style. They'll bounce back, and the tilt will happen to Renegades, and Out of Style will take it. I'm worried that Fibian will dominate them a little bit too much. And, yeah, so we're going to go Out of Style there, because Renegades will be way too upset, maybe, about their first series. Now, this is exactly what I don't want, is a rematch, Allegiance for Out of Style. Again, a lot of this depends on how Allegiance plays versus Fibian. It might not even be a 4-2. Like, now I'm thinking about it, it might be a 4-1. But, you know what? I'm going to go with Allegiance. I don't think a lot of people are putting faith into them. Honestly, I don't have that much faith. But I also don't want to see a rematch where the other team wins it. So I'm going to go another 4-2. Why not for Allegiance? If I said they're going to win earlier, let's go for it. So The two teams for NA will be Fibian and Allegiance. Allegiance will make it back. Renegades will be dropped out. Out of Style will remain in the rival series until next year. Let's go over to Europe. And, oh man, I've been recording for a while. And my frames have been dying. But that's okay. The frames don't really matter for this. Okay, we're going over to Europe. I've been talking a lot, huh? But that's okay. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. All right, let's go over to Europe. Envy. Oops, sorry. Envy is that team that, like, I think... So I think this side of the promotion tournament is... Like, NA, I think, is a little bit more of a toss-up. Probably some 35% is probably the lowest a team has. Like, could they make it? Yeah, probably. But on this side, let's be honest. There's two teams. Envy and Fnatic. And can the other teams beat them? And we'll see. We'll see what my predictions say. But spoiler alert, they can't beat them. Anyway, let's go over to Envy. Envy, miserable season. Career lows in goals per game for all three players. Greasy, Remco, and Devo. And honestly, they could be missing Maestro. He led the team in goals last time. He had .83. He was .16 higher than Devo, who was the next on the list. So Maestro was their leading goal scorer last season. And I, back during the overtimes, thought it was a mistake to replace Maestro. I understand he didn't play a lot during the summer, but he's still Maestro. He still was probably the best player on their team at times. Maybe not all the time. Like, they all kind of rotated in and out. But honestly, Maestro, he had a series where they won the series with Maestro was the only one to score a goal, which I don't think has ever happened before in any other series. So they definitely needed that offensive threat. Now, you would think Greasy coming in, Greasy had a great season with Flipside, that he could slot right in, but that obviously did not happen. There was a lot of turmoil, too. Remco with the Twitter stuff, and then having to, like, delete his Twitter for a little while and then bring it back and all that stuff. So there was a lot of pressure on them to do well. They were obviously world champions. But that curse, it strikes again. We've seen two teams now, two world champions, miss playoffs, and we saw the other one make it to the world championship, but come in last in their region. So it hasn't gone well for previous world champions. It just shows it's hard to stay on top. It's really hard. You get complacent, and the competition wants it more. That's usually how it works. Is like everyone else wants to taste that championship, while the team that just got it is like, it was great. We would love to do it again, but we've already had it. And obviously that's not what they're thinking in their head, but who knows? Subconsciously. We'll see if we can ever get repeat world champs. I think eventually it could happen, but didn't happen this season. But the one thing for Envy that was great, again, kind of like Allegiance, like I think everyone would have still been afraid of Envy, but they did take down PSG, and pretty handily as well, in their last series of league play, which it didn't really matter for them, but they still played extremely well there. I expect that to carry over here. They're also one of the lowest shooting percentage teams ever. And I mean ever in the Rlcs. They're only 0.1% higher than the lowest ever recorded in Rlcs history. They're sitting at 19.8%. There's only one other team, Set to Destroy. 19.7% was the lowest ever. And honestly, no one else is below a 22%. So that just shows how poorly they've been shooting this entire time. And they're not getting those rebounds. Like, they're not putting quality shots on where they get the rebounds and score some goals. Their assists per game are atrocious. Well, pretty much everything's atrocious with the team. Highest is Greasy at 0.46, sitting at 15th out of 24 players. Not even in the top half. They're not in the top half in goals per game, any of them. The highest, again, is 16th with Greasy. It's just not great. It's not great at all. And I think they will turn it around. They have world champions. All three of them are world champions on separate teams, but it's insane. I'm really excited to see what they do during this. I think against Juicy Kids, I think they have no shot here. Like, zero shot. They've had a ton of roster shuffles now. At first, it was going to be like Stocky leaving. Then they decided Frag is going to leave. I heard there's some weird turmoil going on there. So Frag is leaving for Coca. And that's not a great sign. It's not a great sign at all, because Frag is their second highest shooting percentage. A second in the region at 34.55%. that's not too bad. His shots per game were the lowest. He was kind of like that cleanup crew once again. But to replace someone this late into such an important time is not going to be good. They barely made it here to begin with. They were down 2 goals to endpoint with like 10 seconds left. They score 2, force overtime in a game 5, and then win it. That's the only reason why they're here. And that's awesome. That shows that, like, holy crap, like, what an amazing play or 30 seconds or so of that play to make this happen. But it also means that, like, they barely got here at the same time. I'm really, really worried for the squad. This could get ugly, and I am going to go. All right, I got to start the tournament. Can't do it without starting the tournament. All right, so I'm going to go a 4-0 here for Envy. I think it's time for Envy to show up, and they'll get that 4-0 there. They do get the easiest matchup because, again, they were the higher seed than Secret. So good on them to get that. Now moving over to Secret. Talk about bad seasons. This was a bad season. They played 7 best-of-5s, and they won a total of 3 games. So, they won 1 best-of-5, like, amount of games in 7 series. Not very good for them. Their defense has been extremely poor, giving up 3.67 goals per game. That is abysmal. That cannot be happening. They seem so confused on the defensive side of the field that it's just been rough. Their offense is like, sure, it's last, but sometimes they show it does something, I guess. I don't know. It's just, they can't figure out when to pressure and when to back off. One week was so bad when they were like, all right, let's try and be really aggressive this week. And they would literally just leave their entire field when the other team's about to hit the ball. They would trust too much in their own teammates to hit the ball or to win a 50-50 or whatever when they weren't even that close to the ball. And the ball would just sail over their head and wide open goal, wide open goal, wide open goal over and over again. And it killed me to watch. And I'm hoping they fixed some of this going into this. But there's a lot to fix. And when you have something that broken, sometimes it's better to just throw it in the trash. I don't know what this metaphor means, but the problem is they can't throw it in the trash. They have to duct tape it up, buy some super glue, but it's going to be store brand duct tape and store brand super glue. This is not going to be good. Like, it's been rough for them, and I would be absolutely shocked if Secret or Juicy Kids make it in. There should be no way that they beat these teams at this point because they've just looked so poor. But they were an RLCS team. They obviously earned their spot. They took out Fnatic last time around, which was a fantastic series. The Tailacto overtime winner where Siki tried to get the back pass on a really fast play. It went over Snasky's head, and that was the end of it. Almost the reverse sweep for Fnatic, but Maestro played out of his mind, I thought, during that overtime. And Maestro coming off an offseason where he didn't play that much, it's just getting better. And that's really, really scary. And Fnatic just destroyed the rival series. They just were like, hey, we're going to do whatever we want. We're going to win every single game. They won 21 games out of 27 games, so they lost 6 out of their 7-game series, or 7 best-of-5 series. And they just mopped the floor. Goals per game, they're 2, 4, and 5 in the region. Assists per game, 1, 5, and 7. We go down the list everywhere. They're number 1 in every single category except for saves per game, which doesn't really matter. Shots per game, they're also number 2. On the defensive side, they destroyed 1.37 goals against per game, number 1. Number 1 assists per game, or assists against. Shots against, they were actually number 2, so they're giving up a little bit more shots. But shooting percentage, number 1. Save percentage, number 1. This team's really good. This team has shown they're really good. They beat the MV squad in the Pro Rivalry Series best of 7, best of 3 format. And they did it generally convincingly as well. I thought I had stats on it, but maybe I thought I had stats on it somewhere. But they're probably in some other thing. But Fnatic is looking really good. My one concern going into the RLCS, if they do make it, is will Sicky and Snasky perform up to that level once again? Will Maestro have to carry? Is Maestro even that carry anymore? We're not really sure. It's hard to tell versus this competition, but they showed that they belong in the RLCS for sure. And I think this could also be a 4-0 sweep. I think this could be a very quick day. Very, very quick day. MV versus Fnatic should be a lot of fun. That's going to be the game that everyone wants to see. Maestro versus his old team that kicked him. And like the leftovers or Fnatic now have a lot to prove. They're like, hey, we thought Ferrer was the problem, but look at him now. He's at the World Championships. We thought Pondex was not good enough. Look at him. He's in the RLCS. They went to Maestro. They have to perform here. I think Envy's going to take this, though. I think Envy will surprise. Like, when they played their 3 best-of-7s, it was 10 games to 6. So, it wasn't like Envy was completely out of it. I think Envy, who knows? They could have not also been taking it that seriously. Or at least as serious as what's about to come up. I assume practice regimen for both these teams is going to be insane. I think Envy can do this. I think they have that experience. I think they will win. I'm going to go a 4-3 because we want a best-of-7. We want all 7 games here. We want every single game. But I think Envy will take it. I think Envy is turning around their season a little bit late to try for a World Championship run, but they're turning around at least for the promotion tournament, and I think they will take it. Juicy Kids versus Secret. I think Juicy Kids, with their roster problems, is going to hurt them, and I think Secret will win this series, and honestly, that could be really good for Secret going into the lower final because they'll get some wins under their belt. They haven't really won anything. Like, 4 wins at this point, say they get swept by Fnatic, will literally be more wins than they got in the entire season of the RLCS. So those wins could be pretty nice for them. I can't even give a 2. I'll give a 1 for Juicy Kids. But I think Fnatic's too strong. We'll go a 4-1 here. We'll give Secret a game. Like, they'll make it a little exciting for a bit, but Envy and Fnatic are way too strong. Like, if they don't make it, I would be absolutely shocked. I think on the other side with NA, it's pretty much a toss-up. I think there's arguments for all 4 teams. But in Europe, there's clear 2 favorites and a clear 2 underdogs. And it's really strange because, like, Allegiance came in the North America side. They were the 15th seed. So they were, I'm sorry, the 13th seed in the play-in, which means they were the 15th seed overall because you think about the 2 other teams that were already in. And they actually performed pretty well on the North America side. They actually were competitive. On the other side, Secret came in as the 8th ranked team in play-in, 10th overall. So you would think, all right, they're going to perform well, or at least put up a fight like against these teams, but that didn't happen at all. And I think it's like because Europe has figured out how to consolidate all of their power or all of their really good players to the top really effectively. North America, they're a little bit more spread out. We see some teams where you kind of question their thirds at times. I'm not going to name names, but you question, like, could they have done better with someone else? Or could they have done better with these other guys, like these other stars? It could also be just NA has a little bit more of a general, like, talent split where everyone is, like, there's more people around their levels, I guess. I don't know. But we'll see. But Europe, they've consolidated their power. And honestly, if we get an Envy and Fnatic into the RLCS Season 5 for Europe for League Play, that League Play is going to be absolutely insane. Every single one of those teams can beat any of the other teams any given week. And it'll be a treat to watch. That's for sure. It should be a lot of fun. On the other side, I think the North America side, I think whoever does make it out, I think Fibian, I still worry about Fibian versus RLCS teams. I think there is some room for improvement for both Fibian and Allegiance. I think there's teams like FlyQuest that have been kind of struggling. We'll see if they make any roster moves. Rogue has been pretty decent, but they've been just decent. So I think there is room to move up. Ghost, I think, will keep improving, though. It'll be hard to break into that top 4, but you never know. It could happen. It should be really exciting. Season number 5, it should be a really exciting promotion tournament. I hope you guys all come check it out. It's 12 Pacific time for North America on Saturday, and then 9 Pacific time for Europe on Sunday. And I just want to thank you all for watching. And that's it for me. I'll probably put this up as a stream, I think. This video stream a little bit later today. And then we'll throw it up on YouTube the next day. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Later.